Thank you all for joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM, joined by avoiceformen.com. Karen Strong joining us. Karen, good to have you back.
Oh, thanks for having me back. Excuse the big booms. We're having a lightning storm here right now.
Well, we appreciate the weather update from our friends in Canada. First of all, let's get to a couple things. What do you make of the Democratic presidential candidates, the women that are just saying, look, it's a women's world. We need to destroy the glass ceiling. So much so that Chris Wallace from Fox News said, well, what about the men? Well, you've had your time. It's time for the women.
Oh, I just think that's so chauvinistic. It's just not even funny. The idea that justice or the ability to be a just leader is dependent on what you have in your pants I would think that that's a really sexist attitude to hold. And the idea that male politicians don't serve all of their constituents, or that they aren't held accountable to serving all of their constituents, that's absurd. And there is a tendency on the part of all politicians to really go out of their way to woo women and woo the female vote. Nobody really talks about the male vote as if it's a thing. They might talk about working class men or black men or whatever, but they don't think of men as, a kind of an amorphous voting bloc like they do with women. So, the idea that you need female politicians in there for women to actually be justly served by their government is ridiculous.
Well, that is a good point. You never have men saying, well, we need the men vote and we're going to get the men out. And if they did, they would be laughed out or ridiculed. But this whole gender-specific targeting and making the dominant folks for quite some time, the men, seem like a side order of fries, not only in the media, but everywhere. And you document this on your website at voiceformen.com.
Well, yeah. It's not my website, but I have contributed to it. But essentially what you're looking at is something that I don't know if any of your listeners will have heard this word, but it's in common use in the gender politics debate, at least my side of it, gynocentrism, which is sort of the idea that women or the woman-child dyad forms the center of society, and there's a lot of societies generally take a lot of interest in how women are doing, whether they're healthy, whether they're safe, whether they're capable of, performing their jobs as mothers and as, citizens. So essentially, we're sort of living in this. Every time a feminist opens her mouth and talks about the plight of women, I feel like I'm living in upside down land. Women live longer than men. Men die earlier and more often of all 10 leading causes of death than women do, and yet the bulk of health spending in care and in research, and that's even excluding reproductive issues and reproductive health, the bulk of the funding goes to women. The bulk of the spending is on women. So, we're just kind of living in this situation where if women weren't favored in society and if politicians didn't care and if we really did live under this patriarchy that oppresses women for the benefit of men, nobody would be courting the female vote. I don't even know if women would have the vote if we were living in that society. So,
well, that's what gets me is people say how bad society is, but, we continue to correct things here in America. Now it seems like we're overly correcting them. What do you make of the females running for president? They, again, it's like that Shaka Khan, Whitney Houston song, I'm every woman, and if you're not a woman, well, you're out of luck.
Well, I like Tulsi Gabbard, and I think, part of why I like her is not her policies and stuff. I do like her non-interventionist, in the foreign military operations and stuff like that. I like that position. I'm not so sure about, things like universal basic income and some of her other more left-leaning positions. I think that the reason I like her is because she has a bearing, right, and a way of talking that makes you think that she's really all business. And I think she could actually run against Trump, and there wouldn't really be a brand name that he could, a sticker he could slap on her that would stick, like Sleepy Joe and Pocahontas and all of that, right? But I think, honestly, out of the people who are the women who are sort of, on the, they have more than zero in the polls. Elizabeth Warren's the only one I can stand listening to, and I don't like what she says. I just can't. The other two, Klobuchar and Kamala Harris, I can't stand to hear them speak. There's just something really whiny about their voices. And Gillibrand, the only thing that I know about her is she essentially wants to eliminate the idea of due process in sexual assault laws. Like, she wants to bring the campus kangaroo courts into the actual criminal courts. That seems to be her agenda there. So, and she's, believe survivors, believe the women. You don't even have to make sure they're survivors before you believe them and support them. And I just don't think that that's justice. I think that that's a really slippery slope into basically undoing all of the Western legal reforms that have occurred since the Magna Carta, right?
Sure.
So, yeah.
Karen Strong joining us, a voiceformen.com. Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. This is a story that I've been holding for quite some time, but you have New York looking at legalizing prostitution, legalizing sex workers because, Karen, it's a victimless crime, New York City.
I think, they're really trying to take the harm reduction approach, which, I can see them taking that. It is it can be a victimless crime, right? I mean, there are plenty of victims out there. But one of the things I think that they're looking at is because the entire thing has to operate in the shadows, there's lots of places for, child prostitutes and the traffickers who ensnare them to hide. There are all kinds of assaults that go on and stuff with prostitutes, and they don't report it to the police because they don't want to be arrested. And I don't know too much about the bill, but I do believe that it would legalize both buying and selling sex. So at least it's fair in that way. In Canada, there was one activist in New York who says that's not good enough. We need to make it legal to sell but illegal to buy, which is kind of the reverse of decriminalizing drugs. You still, the dealers are still criminalized, and the buyers are the addicts are the ones who are decriminalized. And I guess it's the reverse with prostitution. But when you actually have, if the goal is, and that's what we have in Canada, is it's illegal to buy sex, but it's legal to sell it. When you have something like that happen,
you're saying it's illegal to buy sex, but it's illegal to buy, or what? I'm confused.
It's legal to sell it, but it's illegal to buy it in Canada. Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. And you're still going to have prostitutes operating in the shadows, where they're going to make themselves vulnerable to assaults and robberies and stuff like that. So, I mean, I can see their point in them wanting to do that. And frankly, I mean, there is this sort of small population of men and some women who use sex workers because that's the only way that they can get human intimacy. I mean, you've got people who are disabled, people who are.
I think it's pandering, and if it's been illegal for this long, Karen, why do this now? I mean, I don't think that the people care about the sex workers.
Yeah, well, I think it's been legal and illegal throughout Western history, and I don't think it's the oldest profession in the world for a reason, and I don't think we're ever going to get rid of it. So I think that everybody is safer if the industry is regulated, if it's taxed, if it's not operating in some kind of underground black market. And so, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I think that the motivations of some of the people who are behind it might be not pure, but I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing to open it up and get it out in the open where it can be monitored and regulated and taxed, and all of that. So.
Well, Karen, we appreciate the debate as always. A voiceformen.com. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, I didn't see that one coming. Again, so New York City is thinking about legalizing prostitution. We'll get to your calls on that in a minute at 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Of course, it's a horrible idea. Of course, it's the wrong move. And what will those people east of the Great River do next? Trying to emulate what goes on in Nevada. And look, this is what happens when you start decriminalizing drugs. We start decriminalizing everything, and then pretty soon there's going to be no criminals. Pro-Life, thank you for your patience. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller in the morning. Hello, Pro-Life.
Yeah, when we decriminalized fornication, I don't know how long ago that was, and adultery, we decriminalized that. We have no fault divorce. Nobody wants to make any judgment about anything, and that's ridiculous. And but anyway, I was going to report on the gay parade, but
so what about the gay parade? It's been a few days.
Yeah, there was a lot of people there, and a couple of them came up and gave me a hug and said, "We love you." I said, "Well, we love you. I love you back. That's why I'm down here." And one.
So
guy
did you get accosted?
No, one guy tried to tell me I couldn't be there. I had to get out of there, and I said, "No, listen, I have free speech rights." And he walked along with me because I was walking against the parade and right next to him. And so then a nice woman came by and said, "I love you." And I said, "Now," and of course she was a lesbian. And then I said, "Now there's the right kind of attitude." And then the guy got a little bit ashamed because he was being, trying to rough me up, intimidate me, tell me I couldn't be there. But
so you're telling me that there was a gay guy that was trying to be a tough guy with you?
Yeah, he was trying to tell me that I wasn't welcome, and in a kind of a rough way. I mean, he didn't threaten to punch me or something, but
right. Well, here's the thing: we had a big article in the paper, saying all these corporations, Wells Fargo, Fred Meyer, Albertsons,
Walmart,
Walmart, but
they were in there,
right? The local ones, they've all embraced the gay parade.
Yep.
So does that mean it's over? Does that mean that it's the end of social conservatism, the end of traditional America, the end of traditional Idaho, when you have major corporations saying, we're down with the gays?
Well, it shouldn't be. All the Christians should go and look on their website, and every one of those businesses, they should complain to the managers. They should go to the corporate headquarters and saying, we're going to look for alternatives from buying from you. And I'm going to write a letter to my bank, Zion's Bank, and I'm going to tell them I don't appreciate that. And I'm just maybe going to switch from you guys.
Well, Zion's Bank, they were quoted in the paper as well. They don't get involved with issues, but they don't have a problem being in the gay parade.
Yeah, I know. And we're a messed up country because.
Well, maybe it's time to be a pragmatist and say, the gays won.
So I guess we could do like Tea Party Bob and move to New Meadows, but that's not the answer. You have to stay in the fight, and it's nice to hear from people like all the good people that call in. We just have such good callers, but anyway.
Well,
no, every deviant sect
but
illegal.
Something. Here's the deal. Yeah? Society has changed, whether you agree with it or not. Now, look, I believe that you love the person. You're not down with the sin, and we can debate that. There's no one that is more socially conservative than yours truly on the air. I'd say, on a local level. And
right.
you get and I'm talking not only locally here, nationally.
Right.
Because nobody covers it anymore. The national guys don't cover it. Nobody covers it because they'll be targeted. Mm-hmm. So essentially what we're seeing is with the massive turnout, the gay parade, the Village People, the original boy band, you've got people that have embraced this. If major corporations are not fleeing from the rainbow is mainstream. And you can call it deviance. Max can call it deviance, which is what it was defined in many times in psychology and sociology books.
Yeah.
But today, I don't think you'd have one candidate describing it as deviance. Why? Because they want to get elected. One business doing that. Why? Because they don't want to be targeted.
I agree. And, our own Lars Larson, He says, I don't care what you do in your bedroom. Now, that's wrong.
But everybody plays that game because
I know
that's how you do it. Look, I go to church. I follow the rules of my faith, and that's not for everyone. Okay? I get it. Do I accept other people? Yes. Yeah. I'm saying there's a major shift going on, whether you want to thank Obama or not. This is the world we're living in today.
Right. Well, I'm going to try to shift it back. How about you?
As long as I'm here, and when I'm not, you'll know that they got me. So.
Yep. All right.
Thank you, Pro-Life. God bless.
Yeah, see ya.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. But that really is the truth of the matter. You have these major corporations, commercial entities that do business in the Treasure Valley. We could go over the list, being quoted in the paper. Look, they're down with the rainbow, and they don't fear any repercussions. Of course, it's funny if you do something that's if you're a conservative and you do something, well, they're the first to run from you. They're the first to flee. It's funny how corporations will back the libs, but they won't back the conservatives. But that's their choice, and it's your choice to support them. Look, I am not in favor of boycotts. I'm not in favor of any of that stuff because that has been used against me, and it's fighting unfairly. But to acknowledge this with this big parade that most of us didn't attend, not down with, don't agree with, you have a significant shift. Now, does the city of Boise really represent the entire state of Idaho? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And let's say, look, I disagree with it. Well, what do you do? By the way, I think it's fascinating what the state government has done concerning add the words and gay rights and the gay parade. I'll tell you about that next, and would love to hear from you. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Blessed to be with you, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO.
The United States is running concentration camps on our southern border, and that is exactly what they are. They are concentration camps. And if that doesn't bother you, we can have, okay, whatever. I want to talk to the people that are concerned enough with humanity to say.
And we're concerned enough that this is not just some goof on the street, some goof on social media. This is a congresswoman represented a district in New York State, the Bronx or Queens or wherever she lives, saying the United States of America is running concentration camps. Thank you, Alexandria OcasioCortez. More on her in a minute. 580-5436, 580-KIDO, comparing the Army base Fort Sill, Oklahoma, to a Nazi concentration camp. Wow. We'll get your thoughts on that. But first, traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave. So coming up, we'll get your comments on AOC saying that America is putting the illegals in concentration camps. She should be, well, look, is this really what the founding fathers envisioned when they set up Congress, when they set up the presidency, when they set up the three branches of government? AOC, just spouting off lies. That's number one. Number two, you got to give it to, I think, the crafty nature of the state Republican majority in both the state House and the state Senate, where we've had this move for add the words, right? Well, add the words, remember, they had big protests. They locked themselves in closets, literally, and then they had to knock on the door because people didn't know they were in the closet, saying that Idaho is an intolerant state. As I've said before, Idaho is not an intolerant state, one of the most tolerant states in the country. We had the big gay parade last week. We had major corporations backing the Rainbow Warriors, if you will, the Rainbowettes, right? So you can't say the state is intolerant, but then you have people in leadership in the Republican Party saying, well, we're not going to, run this bill up. So you can have your parade, you can have your rainbow lights, but you're not going to get your legislation, right? So I think the tide is turning, although not legislatively. And that's a shrewd move by Idaho Republicans. Coming up, is it time for AOC to get the boot? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. All right, let's go to our friend Rachel Sutherland, Fox News Radio on KIDO Talk Radio. Rachel, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Kevin.
So the president's going to be rounding up the illegals. Of course, the plan? Or do we have any details?
Well, those details are under wraps. In fact, the acting ICE director, Mark Morgan, was on Fox and Friends this morning and wouldn't even answer if it's going to be next week, as the president has tweeted. So it could be any time, and he's not giving any details as to how this would work. He is encouraging people who have ignored orders of deportation to come forward. He's saying that ICE will work with them and allow them 30 days to get their affairs in order before they're deported to their home country. So, but there's a lot of questions about how you do this. We're looking at the president saying 1 million people, and it makes people kind of ask, well, where are you going to put these folks? Because a lot of the ICE facilities are already bursting at the seams. And my understanding is there's only one plane that goes to Central America a day, an ICE plane, and it can only hold a couple hundred people. So they're going to have a place to put all of these folks after they arrest them before they are able to get out of the country.
Indeed. Of course, the plan is a big thing. And, of course, as we talked about earlier, you have the former Department of Homeland Security Secretary having issues with this plan, but the president standing firm and publicly saying he's going to make this happen.
That's right. Kirstjen Nielsen, who had been Homeland Security Secretary, had been concerned about just all the logistics of doing this, and then also about public perception, because let's face it, the optics may not be all that great. I mean, for Trump supporters, that would be what they want. The other side already calling it reprehensible because they're not going to, leave out families in this equation. It's everybody who has ignored orders for deportation. So that is who they're going to be focusing on. I don't know if that's all the folks that they're going to be targeting, but definitely people who have been in the country for some time and know that they're supposed to be leaving but have not.
Of course, we will see if that happens next week.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, again, Mark Morgan wouldn't even confirm that. So I think, obviously these operations are typically kept secret until they're carried out. So it could be next week. It could be any time. I mean, so we don't really know.
Boy, the optics would not be good.
Well, I mean, yeah, when we're talking about rounding up 1 million people, and a lot of these are families and people who have been here a while, maybe going to people's workplaces, things like that. No, they wouldn't be. And obviously, this would be something for the Democrats to grab hold of and point to the Trump administration as being inhumane. The other side says they've been here. They know that they have been ordered to leave the country, and they haven't. So it's time to crack down. So, but it's kind of a wait and see at this point on the actual operation itself.
Rachel Sutherland, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Rachel. Let's go to The Patriot with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, The Patriot.
USA! USA! Hey, Kevin, how are you doing this morning?
Blessed to be with you, sir.
Hey, I wonder how many people joined along in that chant there among your broad range of listeners. Hey, I got a question for you. Last night, I was at the gym and saw on my phone on CNN.com that President Trump had launched his 2020 re-election campaign. Now, I know that Sean Hannity and yourself and Glenn Beck and Mark Levin talked about CNN as being fake news. My question to you is, do you have any insider information? Was that fake news on CNN that he's running for re-election, or is that real news, Kevin?
That's real news.
Well, that's going to make some deplorable heads explode. I don't know how they're going to be able to process that. Hey, I thought it was fitting that the speech was held at the Amway Center, given what a fraud and a sham these first 2.5 years have been of the presidency. So, any thoughts?
You'll have to repeat that question again.
His event last night was held at the Amway Center in Orlando, Florida, and Amway is a pyramid scheme, it's a sham, and it's fraud. So I was wondering if you thought it was fitting that that event be held at that venue, given the name and the connection there.
Man, I'm going to tell you, The Patriot, you make me seem like a non-overthinker.
That
And
was great, Kevin.
that's saying something.
USA.
All right.
USA.
Thank you, the Patriot. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Earlier we were reviewing the biggest threat to President Trump. I say it's Joe Biden. President Trump saying, bring them all on. He will take them down like he took down Hillary Clinton. Okay, can we pot it up?
At Congress in 2020. They would shut down your free speech, use the power of the law to punish their opponents, which they're trying to do now anyway. They'll always be trying to shield themselves. They would strip Americans of their constitutional rights while flooding the country with illegal immigrants in the hopes it will expand their political base and they'll get votes someplace down the future. That's what it's about.
There we have it. The president making the case. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. It's great to see the president back in action, the team back in place, ready to repeat. In addition to that, Congresswoman Cortes went to social media, and on social media, she made the startling allegation that America is running concentration camps.
The United States is running concentration camps on our southern border, and that is exactly what they are. They are concentration camps. And if that doesn't bother you, we can have, okay, whatever. I want to talk to the people that are concerned enough with humanity to say that we should not, that never again means something. And that the fact that concentration camps are now an institutionalized practice in the home of the free is extraordinarily disturbing. And we need to do something about it. This week, immigrant children were moved to the same internment camps where the Japanese were held in the earlier 20th century. And this is not even about a crisis this is not just about the immigrant communities being held in concentration camps being a crisis. This is a crisis for ourselves. This is a crisis on if America will remain America in its actual principles and values.
Now, this isn't left-wing Sally. I mean, this is not I guess it is left-wing Sally, but this is a Congresswoman. It breaks my heart that here she is on Periscope or YouTube or one of these other goofy social media devices, chilling out and doing her own thing. You know what social media has done? It's destroyed the curtain. There's nothing behind the curtain anymore. You can go watch your favorite congressperson. Thankfully, we don't have to worry about Jim Risch being at home, wearing a T-shirt, and just hanging out with us, shooting the breeze with us, Senator Risch, on back and forth. It's a formal relationship. But now you have these informal millennials, and God bless the millennials. They are our hope. We've got to save them. We've got to convert them. We've got to tell them that socialism isn't the answer. But, let's tear down the curtain. Let's be informal. I like the formal. When we have folks on, Senator Risch, Senator Crapo, Congressman Fulcher, Congressman Simpson. And it's funny. And maybe it's because of our backgrounds. There's a formality. You have some people that will address people, with their first name. And maybe they work for them. Maybe they don't. Maybe they like that thing. I've always liked, whether you work for someone or not, you address them with their title. Congressman, senator. Does this sound like an elected person to you? Does this sound like someone that represents the American ideals? We fought to end concentration camps, right?
Or if we are losing to an authoritarian and fascist presidency. And so I think that is, I don't use those words lightly. I don't use those words.
Now, if this were a Republican, what would happen? And with all due respect, and age doesn't really matter because you have brave men and women in the military, in their teens, in their 20s, doing amazing things. But this young lady needs some life experience. She needs to get out of working at the taco bar, those words not mine, where she worked before, and go get a real job and get real life experience and find out that life, it doesn't always work your way, ma'am. It doesn't always work your way. How dare a congresswoman make these blatant lies? Where's Nancy Pelosi? Where's the mainstream media on this? One more time.
The United States is running concentration camps on our southern border. And that is exactly what they are. They are concentration camps. And if that doesn't bother you, we can have, okay, whatever. I want to talk to the people that are concerned enough with humanity to say that we should not, that never again means something.
Right. Never again should this young lady be elected. We should have a censure vote on her. She should be thrown out. And that's irresponsible for anyone to make those lies. We were talking earlier, going to Hawaii, we had the park ranger say the same thing, that we put the Japanese in concentration camps. Okay, we're in Idaho. I'd like to be with you for many more years. Besides God and my family, this is the love of my life being with you. In a heterosexually appropriate way for obvious reasons. So I'd like to stay with you. So I'm going to apologize in advance because that's the Idaho way of being respectful. Man, she's stupid. I mean, I'm sorry. If a Republican said this, they would have been run from Congress. If a conservative said this, they would have been vilified, mean-spirited extremist. How can you not say that these comments are not the same thing? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Rolling right along, Boise Music Festival Week. Temperature is going to be great. Ray Amaya was just reminding me of that. Wonderful time. We would love to see you. A couple of pit passes left. Go to KIDOTalkRadio.com for more details. It's going to be the biggest one ever. 10 years of the Boise Music Festival. 10 years, right? Isn't that amazing when you think about it? 10 years of fun, carnivals, pit bull, food. I could go on and on about food, but we get enough of that as it is. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So we have one congresswoman saying we're going to, put people in the concentration camps. And somebody texted me, we're concentrating on putting the illegals there. But, America is much like Idaho. Idaho is a very loving and peaceful and tolerant state. Yet Idaho gets a bad reputation. Idaho gets a reputation, well, they're extremists, they're mountain people. Look, I love being the mountain people. I love being with the mountain people. One day I'd love to be a mountain person. Not literally climbing the mountains. I've got other things to do, like watching the shows. However, people here, they go to games, they let people in, they open doors. I mean, people in Idaho open doors for people. They let people in. And you can always tell people that are just getting here, like the person that was parking at the St. Luke's parking lot yesterday that took up 2 spaces. I'm not kidding. And I couldn't have even made this up. Had a big, huge, massive SUV, blah, 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 cap and everything. And he took up two parking spots. I can't even talk anymore. What's new? 2 parking spots. Why do people do that, right? And guess what kind of plate he had? California. Now, again, Not all people from California are bad. Not all people from Idaho are good. But Americans want to help people. You know, when a tragedy happens here, like you remember Timmy Kenner, the killer of that 3-year-old little girl. God bless her and her family. We pray for her soul. I mean, who in their right mind would kill a 3-year-old little girl? Who would kill anybody in their right mind? So Kenner gets an attorney. He's in jail. We're paying for him, free room and board. And the outpouring of support to this family, and I believe they were, they came here from another country. They were refugees. And the outpouring of people, whether they were of the same faith or not, right? The same religion didn't matter. The same culture didn't matter. It was a tragedy. We've come together. So you see people, and I've worked with the illegals. I worked at a radio station once where we were told that if you outed the illegals, you would be fired. And I go, isn't that against the FCC and the license of the radio station? And it was. And they were good, hard-working people. They couldn't speak English, and I couldn't speak their language, and we'd just go, ugh, and they'd go, ugh. That's how we communicated. It was a friendly, ugh. And I'm sure that we want to help people that are legitimately being persecuted. But you can't tell me 2,000 people a day or 15,000 people a day or however many thousand people a day that are coming into America for the free benefits, the free health care, the free ride, are being persecuted in their countries. They understand the gig is up. And what we're going to see when the president has his roundup is people will compare it to the unfortunate, tragic incident in American history called the Trail of Tears, where you had Native Americans forced from their homes and sent westward to live in the reservations. Horrible, horrible tragedy in American history. And they're going to equate it to that. The difference being that these people have come into the country and are not citizens, and the native folks, they were driven from their own lands. And you can take a look at any type of ethnicity in America, and you can tell they've all been discriminated against. But you put that in the past and you move on. What choice really does the president have? What choice really does America have than to send the message? Obviously, this could be fixed if the Democrats would pass the funding to get these people aid, to get these people the wall, to get these people back to their countries. That's what we're voting on coming up. 580-5436. Join the conversation next. First, traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave. And I'm Kevin Miller. Don't forget, this afternoon, Sean Hannity will bring you home with the latest news concerning the president and, of course, the reaction from the crazy, wacky, zany Democrats as they try to derail the Keep America Great Express going. And by the way, next week is going to be a huge week where you have the Democrats having their first debate, and the president will probably be at home eating some popcorn. Coming up next, the House and the Senate debate slavery reparations. We'll get your thoughts on that next. Kevin Miller on your home for Fox News. KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Good morning.